My fiancé called off our wedding a month prior, saying she couldn't settle. I canceled the venue, sold the ring, and took a solo honeymoon. I returned to find her fling had dumped her, and she was having a mental breakdown. I used to think I was one of the lucky ones. I met the right woman young, built a life with her, and made plans that actually seemed destined to last. Lena and I had been together since college. 8 years of growing up side by side. We went from eating ramen in a tiny studio apartment to picking out china patterns for our wedding registry. We were supposed to be getting married in a month. Everything was already arranged. The venue, the guest list, the honeymoon in Italy. My parents had paid the catering deposit. Her mother was already discussing flower arrangements. From the outside, everything looked perfect. From the inside, something had changed. I couldn't pinpoint exactly when. Maybe it was after her promotion. Maybe it was after that bachelorette trip her friends insisted she take. Whatever the reason, the laughter that once came naturally to her started feeling forced. At first, I blamed stress. Weddings make people anxious, right? I kept telling myself she would snap out of it as the big day got closer. Instead, she became more distant. The texts got shorter. The nights at work got later. The "I love yous" became less frequent, and there were more of those vague, heavy comments that seem harmless until you realize there's 20 had it bad. As self-reflection, one evening, about a month before the wedding, we went to dinner at a restaurant where we used to celebrate milestones. She spent most of the meal scrolling through her phone. When I asked if everything was okay, she sighed and said, almost to herself, "I just feel trapped. Like everyone expects me to be this version of myself that I'm not even sure I like." I tried to lighten the mood. "If you're talking about wedding planning, you can fire me as project manager anytime." She smiled faintly, but it never reached her eyes. "It's not that, Ethan. You're amazing. You've always been amazing. Just feel like I'm settling. And that scares me." That word, settling, hit harder than I wanted to admit. It lingered between us like smoke. I didn't argue. I didn't ask her to take it back. I simply asked, "What exactly are you settling for?" She looked down at her water glass, tracing the ring of condensation with her thumb. "I don't know. Maybe comfort. Maybe safety. Maybe I need to know what else is out there before I say forever." My heartbeat climbed into my throat, but I kept my voice steady. "And I guess you need to figure that out." The relief on her face at my calm reaction was almost insulting. She nodded as if she had expected a fight and didn't know what to do now that she wasn't getting one. The rest of dinner was filled with meaningless small talk, trying to occupy the space where our future used to be. When we got home, she showered and went straight to bed without touching me. I lay awake staring at the ceiling, realizing I was engaged to someone who was already halfway out the door. Over the next week, she grew even more distant. Her friends, the same ones who used to talk about how lucky she was, started posting thinly veiled quotes on social media. Sometimes you have to lose everything to find yourself. A woman's intuition knows when it's time to evolve. I didn't need intuition to understand what was happening. Every smile she gave me after that looked like a goodbye. A week later, she asked if we could meet and talk. Her tone was polite and detached, as though she were scheduling a business meeting instead of dismantling a life we had spent nearly a decade building. We met at a small cafe we used to love. Out of habit, I arrived early. Out of new priorities, she arrived 15 minutes late. She looked like she had stepped off a magazine cover. Soft waves in her hair, perfect makeup, white blazer that projected control. It was all performance. She sat down, let out a dramatic breath, and said, "Ethan, I've been doing a lot of thinking." There it was. The line people use right before they blow up your world. "I don't think I can go through with the wedding." Just like that. No hesitation. No trembling. Her hands didn't even shake as she stirred her coffee. It felt rehearsed, like she had practiced it in front of a mirror. "Why?" I asked. Not angrily, not desperately. I just needed to hear it from her. She gave me the same expression people reserve for a confused child. "Because it isn't fair to either of us. I need to know what else is out there before I make a promise I might regret." I swallowed hard. "So you're calling off the wedding?" "I am," she said softly. "I still love you, Ethan, but love isn't everything. I can't be the woman who settles because she's afraid to start over." That word again. Settle. As though I were some comfortable couch she had outgrown. I took a breath. "You're not scared to start over," I said finally. "You're excited too." There's a difference. That caught her off guard. Her expression slipped for a moment, before she quickly rebuilt her mask of mature self-discovery. "This isn't about anyone else," she said quickly. "I just need space to find myself." A lie. And we both knew it. I nodded slowly. "Then I won't stand in your way." She blinked. That's it? You're just okay with this? I'm not okay with it, I said. But I'm not going to beg you to stay. She leaned back and exhaled, as if she had passed some kind of moral test. I didn't want this to get ugly. You don't need to worry about that, I said. You already made it ugly enough. For a brief second, her composure cracked. Her mouth twitched as though she might cry, but pride won. I'm sorry if you're hurt, she said in a flat, practiced tone. I stood. You're not sorry. You're relieved. Enjoy your freedom. She didn't follow me when I walked out, but I could feel her eyes on my back all the way to the door. Later that night, a mutual friend told me she had already been spending time with a coworker named Ryan. The same Ryan she always described as being like a brother. Apparently they had been texting for months. I didn't confront her. What would have been the point? She had already rewritten the story in her mind, turning herself into the victim of her own decisions. Instead, I started making calls. Venue canceled. Caterer canceled. Photographer canceled. I didn't just remove her from my future. I removed the version of myself that had built that future for her. When I called the jeweler about returning the engagement ring, he asked, "Cold feet?" "No," I replied. She wanted to fly barefoot. He laughed awkwardly, unsure how to respond. That was when I realized I didn't care whether anyone understood. By the end of the week, every trace of the wedding was gone. The invitations, the deposits, the whiteboard calendar with our wedding day written in red marker. I erased it clean. She never once asked whether I had canceled anything. She was too busy posting sunset photos with captions like, "New beginnings feel like breathing again." Good for her. I hoped she enjoyed the view while it lasted. When I woke up the next morning, my first thought wasn't about her. It was about the silence. The kind of silence that lingers when all the noise has finally faded away. For months, my life had revolved around her wedding Pinterest boards, dress fittings, venue negotiations, and endless lists of must-haves. It felt strange not having my day dictated by her agenda. So I decided to start reclaiming things, one piece at a time. The first call I made was to the venue. The manager sounded almost sympathetic when I told him we were canceling. "Would you like to reschedule for another date?" he asked gently. "No," I replied. "Cancel it entirely." She called it off. They refunded part of the deposit. I didn't even care about the money, just wanted it gone. The second call was to the jeweler. The man hesitated when I explained that I wanted to sell back the engagement ring. "It's a stunning piece," he said. "Not to me anymore," I replied. By noon, both were taken care of. By evening, I was sitting in front of my laptop scrolling through vacation packages. I wanted something spontaneous, somewhere I had never planned to go. Thailand caught my attention. It was originally supposed to be our honeymoon destination, but when we were planning, she decided she wanted something more adventurous. Well, this felt like my chance to have an adventure on my own, so I booked the ticket. 2 days later, I left with a backpack and no itinerary. I didn't tell anyone at first, not even my parents. I only texted my best friend, taking the honeymoon solo. "Don't worry about me." Flight felt surreal, like I was watching someone else's life unfold from the outside. When I landed in Phuket and stepped into the thick, humid air, something changed. It was the first breath I'd taken that didn't taste like regret. I swam, hiked. I ate street food that set my mouth on fire. Talked to strangers, laughed with locals, and for the first time in a long while, I wasn't thinking about how every moment would look online, or whether she would approve. One night, I sat on the beach with a beer, and thought about everything that had happened, about how easily she threw away years of commitment because she couldn't settle. That's when I realized something. She wasn't running towards something better. She was running away from herself, from stability, contentment, and the effort that real commitment requires. And I wasn't going to chase her anymore. By the end of that trip, I wasn't healing. I wasn't finding myself. Those sound like cliches people post beneath sunset photos. I was simply existing, finally free of her shadow. When I boarded the flight home, I wasn't expecting anything dramatic waiting for me. It just felt done, peacefully done. What was waiting for me wasn't peace. It was chaos. Hers, not mine. Flight home was calm, almost too calm. Spent part of it scrolling through old photos on my phone, deleting them one by one. Every sunset selfie, every posed dinner picture, every smile I once believed was part of building something real. By the time the plane landed, my camera roll looked like it belonged to someone else. I expected nothing when I got home. Just the same apartment, same quiet, maybe a few awkward messages from mutual friends pretending to check in. What I didn't expect was a flood of unread messages from her. At first, they were polite. "Hey, can we talk?" Then they became desperate. "Please, I just need to explain. I ignored every one of them. Whatever explanation she needed to give was no longer my concern. One message caught my attention. It wasn't from her. It was from her best friend Leah. You probably don't care, but you should know she's not doing well. That guy she left you for dumped her. She's been having panic attacks and calling your mom. Maybe check on her. I stared at the message. For months, I had replayed that breakup speech in my head. Her voice hadn't trembled with guilt. It had trembled with excitement, like she was announcing a promotion. Just can't settle. Need to feel alive again. Apparently, that feeling didn't last very long. Out of morbid curiosity, I checked her social media. Her account had gone private, but her profile picture told me enough. Gone was the confident, glowing version of her with the beach tan and champagne glass. The new photo was dim and grainy, like someone trying to smile through exhaustion. Then I saw it. The guy, her fling. He had deleted every photo of them together, every trace. His page was full of new adventures, this time on his own. He had moved on faster than she ever expected me to. It was almost poetic. She left me because she couldn't settle. Turns out, he couldn't either. That night, I unpacked my bag, opened a beer, and turned off my phone. No closure, no conversation, no emotional cleanup. I was done being the safe place she returned to, when freedom stopped feeling exciting. A few days later, Leah texted again. She's asking about you constantly. Says she made a mistake. She's not herself. That phrase stayed with me. Not herself. Truth was, she had always been herself. Impulsive, restless, selfish. Now, for the first time, she had to face those parts of herself without an audience cheering her on or validating her choices. And apparently, that was breaking her. I didn't respond. I didn't need to. Some lessons can't be learned through explanations or apologies. Some people have to collapse beneath the weight of their own decisions before they understand what they destroyed. While she was unraveling, I was rebuilding, literally. I threw myself back into work, picked up photography again, reconnected with old friends she had pushed out of my life because she didn't vibe with their energy. Life started expanding, in all the places where she had once made it smaller. The universe has a strange sense of timing. I didn't need revenge. Watching her struggle beneath the freedom she demanded was enough. But I didn't realize it yet. Her collapse was only beginning. And soon, she wouldn't just be heartbroken. She would be desperate. It started subtly. A few mutual friends reaching out, awkwardly testing the waters. Hey man, I ran into her at the coffee shop. She didn't look great. She asked about you. Then came the messages. Not from her directly. She knew I wasn't answering. Instead, they came through other people. My mom, my sister, even my landlord. Apparently, she had shown up at my old apartment crying on the doorstep, insisting she only wanted to talk. My landlord said she looked devastated. Puffy eyes, messy hair, wearing one of my old hoodies. I hadn't seen her like that before. Actually, I hadn't seen her like that ever. She had always been obsessed with control. Her appearance, her tone, her image. The idea that she had let all of that slip felt almost impossible to believe. Then came the message that confirmed everything. My mom called one evening. She's been calling the house phone, she said carefully. She told me she made a mistake. She thought she wanted excitement, but realized she wanted stability. You know, I didn't say anything. I just listened. She's not doing well, my mom continued. Apparently, the guy she left you for moved on quickly. Told her she was too clingy. She's been having panic attacks. Can't sleep. Says she lost her job. I leaned back in my chair and stared at the ceiling. It felt surreal. The same woman who had told me she refused to live a predictable life, now couldn't cope with the consequences of her own unpredictability. Don't get involved, I told my mom quietly. She made her choice. But it didn't end there. A few nights later, I came home from work and found her sitting in her car outside my new apartment. The engine was off. The headlights were dim. She was just sitting there. When she saw me, she didn't get out. She simply rolled down the window and said, "Can we talk?" I walked over, calm but distant. "There's nothing left to talk about," I said. She looked exhausted. Not the dramatic, mascara-running kind of exhausted. The hollow, sleepless kind. "I messed up," she whispered. "He didn't care about me. I thought I wanted freedom, but I just wanted to feel something different. I can't eat. I can't." I cut her off. "That's not my problem anymore." She flinched as if I had struck her. I know. I just thought maybe." "No," I said flatly. "You thought wrong." There was no anger left in me. Only clarity. She wasn't looking for reconciliation. She was looking for comfort. She wanted to rewrite the ending, so she wouldn't have to see herself as the villain. But I had no interest in being part of her redemption story. I turned and walked away, while she was still crying in the car. This time, she didn't follow. That night, I realized something. Her breakdown wasn't just about heartbreak. It was the collapse of her identity. She had built her self-worth on being desired. Now neither of us desired her. And for once, I didn't feel sorry. I just felt free. It had been nearly a year since that night. I had moved into a larger apartment, started a new job, and gotten back into running. I had even started seeing someone, Emma. A woman who didn't treat love like a competition or a career milestone. She laughed easily, listened more than she talked, and never made me feel like I had to earn her affection. Life had become quiet, in the best possible way. Then, one Saturday afternoon, I ran into Lena. It happened at a friend's engagement party. One of those mutual gatherings neither of us had attended together since the breakup. I didn't even know she would be there until I heard her voice. The same voice that once told me, "I can't settle." Now it sounded softer. Strained, almost timid. "Hey," she said. "You look good." I turned around. She stood near the bar holding a half-empty glass of white wine. She looked nothing like the woman who had once lectured me about living life to the fullest. The spark was gone. The confidence was gone. That sense of superiority had cracked. Even her posture looked uncertain, as if she expected rejection before it arrived. I nodded politely. "Thanks. You too." It was a lie. A harmless one. She let out a small, forced laugh. "You probably hate me." "I don't," I said. "You don't? You don't matter enough for that." She blinked in surprise. "That's cold." "No," I replied calmly. "It's just over." Silence stretched between us. Awkward. Heavy. Then she said exactly what I expected. "I was stupid. I thought I was making the right choice. I thought I'd find something more exciting, you know? But it was all fake. He just wanted attention. He didn't care. Nobody has since." I let the words sit there. She wanted me to rescue her from the silence. To reassure her. Tell her she wasn't the villain she knew she had become. I wasn't her therapist anymore. Finally, she asked the question. "Are you seeing someone?" "Yes," I said simply. "She's amazing." She looked down and bit her lip. "I'm happy for you," she said. Her voice cracked on the word happy. "I believe you," I replied, turning away. "Take care of yourself." "Wait," she called after me. "Do you ever think about us?" I stopped walking, but I didn't turn around. "No," I said quietly. "Not anymore." And I kept walking. As I joined Emma on the other side of the room, she smiled and handed me a drink. She didn't ask who Lena was. She didn't need to. The difference between them was obvious. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw my ex watching us. Not with anger. Not even with sadness. Just with realization. The realization that she had thrown away something real for the illusion of something better. And now she wasn't the free spirit she once claimed to be. She was simply lost. Later that night, Emma and I walked home hand in hand. The air was cool. The city was quiet. For the first time in a very long time, I felt completely at peace. No anger. No regret. Just the quiet satisfaction of knowing I didn't need to win. I had already won the moment I walked away. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button. What do you think about this story? Share your thoughts in the comments.